Hello, ladies, and welcome to another Front Burner podcast. Now, this week is going to be a little bit different because last week I had a conversation with Nora Luke. She is the CEO of Corporate to Calling, and she and I met over the video that I had posted about how I had to explain the murder of George Floyd with my 9-year-old son, and how, as a mother, she related to what I had to say. And she wanted to bring me on her platform and have a discussion about race and about Black Lives Matter. So, for those of you who already know my story, I did share my story. But if you want to get right to the meat of everything we're talking about, that's in about minute 13. We discuss race, we discuss Black Lives Matter, we discuss how our white allies can help in the movement of Black Lives Matter. So I hope you enjoyed this segment. Next week, I'll be back finishing out the month of automation, but I really felt that I needed to share this message with my audience as well. So I hope you enjoy, and here is the entire segment of my interview with Nora Luke.
Okay, ladies of Corporate Calling, we're going to kick this off. So, as I said in the post, this was extremely last minute. And for those of you that are able to make it and join, thank you, thank you, thank you. You are going to be so glad you were here. And I know the rest of you will catch the replay that I'll post in the unit section. But today, I have the honor of introducing Nikki Willis. Now, I say the word honor, and I'm also going to call her an all-around powerhouse. And I literally just met the woman 24 hours ago. And I haven't even actually but this is the power of being called to do something, and when things are meant to happen. I'm going to go into how we met and why I asked her to come on. But literally, I was inside a Facebook group, and there's hundreds of threads. For some reason, you're stuck out. I clicked on it. You had this live video. I watched the whole thing. I was like, I really want to interview this woman. I had all these fears. I was in tears when I sent you a message. Yeah. And you said yes. So thank you again.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Hello, ladies of Corporate to Calling. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. And I want to mention to the group too, because we talk about personal branding quite a bit, and I've just started trying to edge people along on that. This is another perfect example of personal branding. I understood your personal brand. I understood your vibe. I understood that you were just somebody that I would want to connect with. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I reached out. And I keep telling a lot of women, you have so much power in your social feed, in your stream of who you are. Use it.
So true. Yeah, I even tell my daughter, I'm like, listen, she's about to be 16 next week. So I've been telling her, like, your personal brand starts today. It starts like the moment you start posting. So, people start getting to know you. They start getting to know, like, and trust you. So what do you want to put out there? What do you want to say to people that are watching and always will be? So, yeah.
I'm conversation. I know, we can have a whole conversation about that. Again, I could tell you understood. I was like, we're like that. She gets me. I get her. Mm-hmm. Could you do us a favor, though, and just take a minute or so and just tell us a little bit about who you are and introduce yourself to the group, and then talk a little bit about your professional kind of path leading up to what you're actually doing today.
Okay, sure. So I am Nikki Willis. I am currently the founder and owner of Nikki Willis and Company, which also houses the Front Burner podcast. It is a weekly podcast that aims to speak to new mompreneurs who want to make sure that they're taking their dreams and passions and side hustles off the back burner, put them on the front burner, and making sure that it's a priority, not the priority, but a priority, as we honor God with being wives and being moms. So I started that in January, and it has been a wonderful run. It's been challenging. I've never been a podcaster before, and I've had to grow in learning how to share my story and learning how to communicate. but it's been so much fun connecting with other women and helping them grow and, helping them take their ideas and bring them to life and, see them start making money and all that stuff. But that's not where I started. I'm actually an entrepreneurial vet, if you will. But I started my first company over 10 years ago, and it was an on-site event childcare company called Party Sitters. And yeah, now 10 years ago, we can scroll back. We were in the middle of a recession then, and God had given me that idea because a year before that, my husband and I had gotten married, and we were becoming a blended family with nobody to watch our kids. And so that's how the idea came about. A year later, we had this idea to start out, to do business together in real estate. And when the real estate market crashed, we had nothing, right? So God had given me that idea, and I began to run with it. It took about 4 years for me to become profitable and then gain corporate clients. One of some of which were Lighthouse Youth Services, Cincinnati Children's Hospital, the U.S. government, things like that. And I grew that business to a six-figure business within about 8 years. And within that, I started to realize that wasn't my passion. And for those of you who have maybe started a business and then realized that really wasn't what you wanted to do, or even a job that you started and realized, you know what, this isn't it. I thought this was God, but it wasn't. But it was, and I tossed it with that so much because I wanted to, I tossed it with that so much because I was like, I thought God gave this to me, and what I realized was this was another stepping stone. My passion is really helping mompreneurs, start from the ground up. When I started Party Sitters, we were driving a 94 blue Volvo station wagon. I, yeah, I had no money. I had no money for inventory. I mean, my first event, I was grabbing my kids' toys like, I need this, I need that. Give me your Barbies. Let's So,
Hey, you gotta be resourceful, right?
yes. Oh, you have to be, okay? Like, I mean, boots on the ground, like bootstraps, everything, right? So, but I knew with Party Sitters, I needed to understand the experience from every aspect, marketing, sales, bookkeeping, all of that stuff, and learning that stuff on my own, so that when I began to teach other entrepreneurs, I could say, "Oh, I know where you've been. Here's where you want to go. I see I see where you thought you were going to go, but let's try this or let's try that." And yeah, it's been an incredible journey. And so I was able to sell those contracts off, close the business December 31st of 2019. So just recently. And listen, thank God, right? Yeah, thank God. But it's been an incredible journey, and that has led me to starting the podcast and being able to share my story. And yeah, and now in addition to that, my husband and I are in real estate, and we do real estate out here in Las Vegas, and we love it, and we're growing that. And so I'm using my experience to grow our real estate business out here. So yeah, it's fun. We stay busy.
Well, I saw because you mentioned, you were in Las Vegas, but you're not from Las Vegas. So I didn't know
No,
real estate in Vegas. And how long ago did you make this, or where'd you move from?
yeah, so we moved from Cincinnati. Um, we moved here in August of 2019. So we haven't even been here a year yet, girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
would you do anything else for 6 months? I mean, that's a really short period of
yeah,
time.
yeah. It was a lot. The Lord just had told my husband, it's time to go now. And so, he told. I always joke. I'm like, the Lord told him. He didn't tell me. I'm like, Lord, you want to tell me first? Like, give me a heads up. But after a lot of prayer, and we talked about it and stuff. I wanted to support him in his journey, and where God was leading him. And I believe that God has blessed me because of that. Supporting my husband in his dream, after he's also supported me.
Yes.
And it's been a wonderful journey. And it's had its challenges, its ups and downs, but it's been a wonderful journey to see how he and I have been working together and learning and growing. And yeah,
I think
so 12 years married in August.
congrats. I think I know me personally, I can relate to that. And I know a lot of the women in this group have supportive, spouses or husbands, and they also understand that, like the husband had this opportunity in this career first, and now it's like my turn, or,
Yeah,
depending on when they had children. And the fact that if you have that set in your heart and you still have the desire to go after that dream or whatever that is or looks like for you, it might not happen for you 5 years ago or even 10 years ago, but now you can have your turn. Don't just say, oh, I missed the boat. Like, because in
right.
what you said it took you 4 years to become profitable.
Mhm.
That is such a powerful statement in itself, because I feel so many women in particular will start a business and they're comparing themselves to everybody that's been doing it for 5+ years. And they're like, I haven't made any money. It's been a year. I quit. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, you got to be in it for the long haul.
Yes, that's what I said, honey. This is, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's a long game. Like,
Mhm.
we're not playing checkers, we're playing chess, and you have to stay in it. And I mean, like this, like by year 3, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm in the black. Like, it was one of those. And like year 4 was really like, huh, look at there. Okay, like we can rock this out. But you are absolutely right. You have to be patient. That was like one of my podcast episodes. You know, because again, people, after 6 months, they'll quit, they'll give up. And it's like, at least give this thing 18 months. And then even with that, you might have to pivot a little bit. You might have to make some changes. So
And
yeah,
similar with the corporate position, you don't just receive a job or get a job and then all of
yeah,
a sudden earn the title of president. You really have to work
hmm,
hard. And the same thing in the entrepreneurial space, very much so.
yeah,
And I'm really big, and I know it's kind of a catchword, but as far as pivot, but I spent years being afraid to pivot because I built up this corporate brand and who I was and what I did. And to
yeah,
pivot into entrepreneurship into this new face, I know that fear. And I think a lot of women in the group are going through that or have gone through that as well. And pivoting, it's like you just give yourself permission. It is okay to do.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. It sure is. You got to go for it. I mean, just go for
When you said the
it.
journey, something might look or appear like a mistake, or it wasn't, God speaking, like you
Yeah,
said, but it really was. It just hadn't presented the full plan yet.
yeah.
I guess that's
You
what
know,
we
it was Yeah, it was one of those moments too where it was like, I mean, because I was like asking God, I was really struggling. This was my baby.
Mhm.
When you grow something from the ground up and you give it legs and it starts to walk in the whole 9 yards, and I'm like, why am I not in love with this anymore? And I
Mhm.
started to think, well, maybe I didn't hear God or whatever. But I think, it's so funny how we assign certain things to person or to relationships. We can say a relationship can be, someone can be in your life for a season, and then somebody can be in your life forever. But we don't quite, flip that on the other side of business. There's sometimes where a business can just be for a season. There's times where a business can be forever. But, staying in tune with God and having Him direct your path, um, it doesn't have to hurt so much. It doesn't have to be, well, maybe I didn't hear him or whatever. It can be, you know what, the season is over, time for the next season. So yeah.
Thank you for saying that. That's wonderful to share. I think a lot of people need to benefit from hearing that. So I'm glad to learn a little bit about kind of your professional life, where you came from, what you're doing now. It sounds like obviously you're very happy with what you're doing, and the podcast is a new, exciting kind of even thrill for you and something new that you get to learn, which
Yep.
learning and growing.
Yeah.
Uh, and the fact that you're kind of new to podcasts, what surprised me primarily because I met you through a live video, which I know is not podcast, but you're used to, putting yourself out there. And
Yeah.
I want to bring up that video again because that was
Sure.
one of the reasons why I invited you on. And for
Mhm.
most women that I've interviewed on this, it's not a show, but the series, I've either known or I've had a connection with for a while, either online, something where you are almost like a stranger. And
Right.
And I almost like, I love that. It's like, have a real conversation with a stranger. And I wanted to preface this by telling everybody, you're not a social worker, you're
Yeah.
not a inclusion diversity specialist or professional. You are a mom, a
Mhm.
woman of God, a wife, a business owner, and you have different challenges that you presented in your video, which I'm going to bring up real quick. And then I have a couple questions for you based upon that. So we can have a
Sure.
so on in the video, Nikki came out and said that you were one of the first. Actually, I think it was I don't even remember second comment, but it really struck a chord with me. And it was you were worried to take a stand against the racism that you've experienced and against everything that was going on in the country and where your feelings were or are because of a little fear of what people could think from a judgmental standpoint of losing business.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I thought, I felt the same way. And I know a lot of other women, black and white, feel that
Yeah.
way. And I'm gonna speak freely here, so correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're nervous to continue to divide by saying anything. I know I was, and then all of a sudden it just grew inside and grew inside. And I thought, no, now is when I'm going to use my voice and not be silent. I
Yeah.
will fully admit that I have contributed to a problem by being silent in the past. And it was like, that was the moment I said, Band-Aid is off. You talk about being in it for the long haul. I'm an ally for the long haul. This isn't just a one post and goodbye, but it took that moment to happen to put it out there. And there was still that fear. So did you receive backlash? Did you receive any kind of comments or trolls or anything that came out when you actually put your personal feelings out there from your work counterparts?
You know, actually, I didn't, and yes, I was definitely nervous. I'm not even gonna lie, I was nervous, and I'm a black woman. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about my people, and I was so nervous, but I actually began to get text messages and people messaging me and commenting and sharing it, and it blessed me because I felt like I needed to share, and but I didn't want to get trolled. I didn't want to get dragged. But I knew I needed to just share from my heart and at where I was, and just give people another perspective. So thank God, I for the mo for what I from what I know, I wasn't trolled, and the response that I was getting was positive.
And I think perspective is a key word. Um, I've been asked by other entrepreneurs, in particular white entrepreneurs, how do I show up right now? What do I do? What do I don't do? And I know for the majority of them, it is 100% coming from a good place. You know,
Yes.
how did you, or what, I guess I should say, what advice would you give to women, black or white? But I guess for this point, let's white women to show up.
Mhm.
You know, how would you tell them that they should? Is it okay? Is there certain do's or don'ts?
Mhm. Mhm. So I'll kind of just tell you as I go. So it's not like a here's a do list, here's a don't list. I'm just going to tell you how you know.
Hey,
Um, so one of the things that we don't need is pity. We don't need pity. We need you to stand with us, and we need you to stand with us in the long haul. One of the most dangerous comments to say is that all lives matter. That is one of the most dangerous things to say. And because when you say that, you're not hearing us. You're not hearing that what we're saying is, yes, absolutely, all lives matter. And that is why Black lives matter too. That's what we're trying to get across. That's what we're trying to help people hear and listen to. Um, Another thing that people can do is what I told someone else was that this starts at home. This starts at the dinner table. This starts at the Christmas breakfast when Grandpa Joe or Uncle Bill is still saying things that are destructive to unity and destructive to America as a whole. We are all Americans, but when you call people out and talk about them as if they are not human beings, that is so destructive. And you have to understand that kids are listening.
Yes.
The kids are listening to what you are saying. Children, they're not born racist. Like, my son, his best friend back in Cincinnati is a white boy, and they met in kindergarten. And by the end of kindergarten, they were both convinced that they were brothers, and it was so cute. And I'm like, well, son, he's goes, no, mom, no, because we finish each other's sentences. And so I was like, okay, but and now he's headed into the fourth grade, and they're still best friends. And but that is, that's because we help cultivate that. It happens on both sides. You can't say, well, you can't play with that person, or you can't do that. And so that's another thing. It starts at home. Another thing is, I would challenge people to see things through our eyes. Just, a lot of times, and because I've spoken out before, not in that way, but I've spoken out before, and then you hear yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. Sometimes it's just good to just listen, see it from our eyes, from our perspective.
Yes.
It baffles me to see so many people that can justify, anything, something so minor as a traffic stop. Well, what did he do? But did he deserve to die? You know what I'm saying? And so many times this has happened. And these are just the things that have been televised, right? So, this is not even, this isn't even half of the things that we know in our community, but they never come out. They never get out. On social media, share. Just share. Please don't say that you are tired of seeing racism in your time feed. That's not helpful either. So, and money also talks. So if you see an organization, or you see a someone's personal brand that doesn't represent unity, that is derogatory, or has comments that that demean the Black race or any race, don't support them. Period. Call them out on it. Period. There was a realtor that made a comment about a squatter, and he used a term that would be considered ghetto, and that's a whole nother thing. Okay, listen, sidebar. Ghetto is not a Black thing. Ghetto is not a Black thing. All races can be ghetto. But because of societal norms and media and everything else, people consider ghetto a Black thing. It is not. But this man has said this statement. Well, so many views go by and no one says anything. And this is a professional realtor who, is supposed to serve the community, and, probably has sold to Black people, right? But he calls this man what is considered a ghetto term. And he said, well, what did he do this time? Right? Now, we all know that there are squatters of all races, right? There are people that steal that are of all races, and no one said anything. Nobody said anything until I went mad face. That was it. Mad face. Then I went on my personal page and said, this is what just happened. Now, I saw after that had happened, then people started activating, and it was eventually taken down. But how many people saw that? How many people went by and maybe shook their head and said, that's
Mhm.
someone else's problem. Somebody, you know, adopt it and make it your own problem and
Mhm.
say, you know what? I can speak out against that. I can say, you know what? That wasn't right. And so many people are afraid to lose.
Yeah.
So many people are afraid to lose. But I think that this thing that happened with George Floyd, and let me be clear, it's George Floyd was the culmination of a lot of things, right? In the past probably 4 weeks, the African American community has been traumatized on a weekly basis. I will tell you right now, I'm not as scared of coronavirus as I am of my husband just wanting to take a walk in the community.
Mm.
I'm not as scared of coronavirus than I am of racist attacks. And our leadership, our government has called for, has literally called for war on our heads. When he said, I'm calling for the military to come in, he told citizens, use your guns to protect your property and protect America. Who does that? Now, I know that's illegal, but it's been said.
Mhm.
And people that hear that will say, "Oh yeah, absolutely. A black man with a gun is considered a threat. Period. Period. Unfortunately, a white man with a gun, he's protecting his property. He's protecting his family. That is just what it is, because we're not seen in the same light as everybody else.
Well, and I
So
think
speak out.
if I'm hearing you correctly, it's the racial bias that is so strong that if if a white man is out there protecting his building, but if a black man is out there, the black man is looked at immediately like he's a threat.
Uh, Yeah.
And I challenged. I had my my own father called me after I put my post up and said, "So is that really what you believe?" And we had a really good conversation. I was proud of him, but I called him out and said, "So you're telling me when you walk down the street, if a black man walks by, you don't tense up a little? You don't feel like you need to be a little on edge?" Well, so tell me. And I said, there's a reason that you've been almost programmed. And I never want to give somebody, I don't want to sound wrong. So I don't give people excuse. I've spent a lot of my career working with elderly. So I've listened to a lot of 85-year-old, 90-year-old white women say very bad things. I've had
Mhm.
conversations with them, and it's a
Mhm.
very challenging conversation. I've had conversations with their adult children about it, but I've watched that be then taught to their children, and then
Mhm.
and on and on. And I feel
Yeah.
like part of me that gives me hope, and when you mention your son and his friends, like you hope that some of that is slowly becoming more of a conversation. People are talking about it, so it does. It, what's the right word? Not go away, because I don't think it's going to take more than this to go away. But the fact that it's being talked about now, like
Mhm.
like you said, it's been a culmination and this huge movement to talk about it. And now I feel like been given permission to say something where I didn't need permission before, but I guess I did. And I
Mhm.
don't even hesitate to, if I would hear a ghetto term, or, I shared this with my group yesterday. If somebody I know says, my black friend, I'm the one that's kind of like, just your friend.
Mhm.
Don't need to know, it's not like, why do you guys say that? But in making sure I make those comments, back. And I feel even more empowered, maybe is the right way to say it. Like,
That's good.
and
That's
I
so
hope that other people feel that way. And
good.
you mentioned one thing I just want to go back to really quick, the all lives matter. Witnessed a lot of white people years ago. This was probably back 2015. That was almost the rebuttal. And initially I thought, well, yeah, all lives do matter because it's equality. We all want to be a human
Mhm.
race. I don't want to divide again. And then it feels like now we get it a little bit more of it doesn't, Black Lives Matter does not equal all lives don't matter. Like
Correct.
they're two totally different. It doesn't mean blue lives don't matter. It's saying that
Correct.
lives need this attention right now and deserve this attention because of the judgment that's happening. And that's
Mhm.
where I felt in your video so called to what you were saying because it goes back to judgment. We judge people all day long. You're either
Mhm.
too thin, too fat, too black, too white, too loud, too quiet, too short. And now is at a point where it's like, stop judging,
Right.
especially based on the color of skin. That was my
Yeah.
huge connection when you made some of your comments. So
Yeah.
I'm going to bring that back up. Say,
And
go ahead.
yeah, I want to say something else too. That we are taught black is not just a color. Being black is not just a color. We
Mm,
are a culture.
mm,
We are taught to celebrate culture, right? People are taught to celebrate
mhm,
cultures. We have an American culture, right? We have, there are cultures from different countries, in different ethnicity. There are cultures. And I think what America has failed to realize, and maybe even the world, that there's a black culture, not just color. And
mhm,
you see it when people are, let's face it, enamored with our hairstyles
mhm,
or the latest dance that we've created or our artwork or our clothing. Um, and and obviously it's deemed ghetto when we do it.
mhm.
But then when someone, when mainstream media catches on to it and they like it, now it's a thing.
Mhm.
And you know, we always, people like to celebrate our dance and our art and all that other stuff, but they don't want to acknowledge us as a people. We are a
Or they
culture, and if we honor other people's cultures, we're asking people to honor ours, to recognize ours. We
mhm.
have a culture, we have traditions, we have things that make us unique, and we are proud of that. We are proud of that. And so it's not, that's another thing that I would challenge people to understand. We are not just a color, we're a culture. And when you look at it that way, then it's like, okay, let's celebrate that. Let's recognize that.
Well,
So
it'd be saying like our brown friends, if they're Hispanic, we celebrate the Hispanic culture. We celebrate the
absolutely.
Indian culture. We celebrate,
Yes,
like
you
it's the
have
same.
Hispanic History Month, right? Yeah. And all kinds of other cultures have their own celebrations and all of that stuff. But it seems to me that when we get to the Black community, it's just a color. And
Mm,
when you do that, you again dehumanize us just a little bit more. Then it doesn't look as bad when someone's laying lifeless on the ground.
mm,
It's just another Black man. What do you do?
mm,
Versus this is someone's father. He was a pillar in his community. People in our community are stepping up, saying this is who this man was.
mhm.
And so it's so important for even just that mindset. If we can look at blacks as not just a color but a culture,
Mhm.
that can also help.
Mm. No, that's, yeah, again, so glad you said that 'cause I think that's I don't think I've heard anybody really say that or, following people. Like I heard one woman yesterday, Shamika Tankerson, it was an amazing talk, but she mentioned, there's American history and then there's Black history. And there's a lot more to us than just the famous names that the American history textbooks let you hear about. And it's so, and
Yeah,
I think that's become a little more known, but not nowhere near mainstream, not, I think, I mean, Martin Luther King gets like a page or two in the American history books. Like
yeah,
that's it, and that's well, wrong for one, but I think talking about it more and it's not just a black thing. It's your culture. It's your history
yeah.
and understanding it. Yeah, and it does humanize it. You're exactly right. So I want to move on quickly to the comment about your son.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 7-year-old boy and a 4-year-old daughter. And we talk about, skin color. Obviously, our conversations are a little not as intense because of the ages. But it made me think, I don't know what it'd be like to have a 7-year-old black son. And I'm pretty sure my conversations would be a little more intense if I had one.
Mm-hmm.
You were not able to, what's the right word, shelter your son from the images. And I'm going, oh, do I shelter? Do I not shelter? What do you want him to see? What do you not want him to see?
Yeah,
And you don't have that privilege.
I do not.
And it makes me want to tear up. Like, that breaks my heart. That piece, and that's that human element to it, and the mom element to it of, I can't even, in the judgment, and I mentioned this before, I have no comprehension, nor does any other white person, unless they have black children, understand what it'd be like to have a different worry and a different prayer and a different concern for your black children. So can you share a little bit about that conversation, and as much as you feel comfortable with, as far as what he felt and what he saw, and how you had to respond, and what's happened in your home?
Yeah. So, Monday when the story came out, my husband and I obviously immediately started talking about it. My daughter, again, who was 16 or going to be 16, she was also aware, she's on social media, the whole 9 yards. So, we started, talking about it, and just, there were, some emotions already, but we tried, because he's 9,
Mhm.
to shelter and to shield from these horrific things that are happening to our people. We try to shelter him because, like I said, I want to raise my son like a regular kid. I just want the chance to raise him like a regular kid, and I can't. I'll be honest. And so Wednesday night, he comes into my room. He goes, "Mom, that man had his hand in his pocket," and I was like, What are you talking about?" And he repeated it again. He's like, "That cop, he had his hand in his pocket." And it immediately dawned on me, oh my God, he saw that man laying lifeless on that ground with that cop's knee on his neck. And I'll be honest, like, I haven't even watched the video. There's a lot of people in the Black community that will not watch it because it's too traumatizing, it's too triggering for us. We've seen too much. And so, there's a lot of conversation in the Black community that, we just can't watch it anymore. It triggers us too much, and it causes us not to function. It causes us to go into severe levels of depression. It's serious. And so him seeing that, I just, I just, I just broke down, after he was gone, and I had to explain to him, son, that was, and we later found out that he didn't have his hand in his pocket. He was like on his hip. So let me just be clear. But yeah, but I said he looked quite casual for murder, don't you think? Um, and so, we had to talk about it. We had to that, this was wrong, but this happens,
Mhm.
and we had to talk to him again about how to survive when you encounter a police officer. And so, he went on about his day, bubbly, playing games, the whole 9 yards. A couple of days later, it's Saturday. I'm getting ready to take him to his friend's house. And I just want to check in. And I'm like, and his friend is a white boy, so great family. And so I said, "Hey, bud, how do you feel about that picture that you saw? Tell me about how you're feeling, because we try to like just make it simple." And he said, "Well, I felt scared." And I said, "Okay." And I said, "Well, tell me how else you felt, because I want him to try to get him to use his words and everything." And um, I feel, well, he said, "I felt sad the first time." And then he said, "I feel scared." And so, that just, it broke me. It broke my heart, because I knew his friend wouldn't even know what he was talking about. And so I had to tell him, "Son, Your friend probably isn't going to know what's going on or what has happened. So, if you feel sad or you feel scared, you can always talk to mommy and daddy. And it made me so angry. It frustrated me because, I don't get that privilege to raise my son as a child. I don't get that privilege. At a certain age, our children stop being cute and they become a threat. I can tell you, my oldest son, my stepson, he's 17. He's like a darker shade as I am, and we started telling him about not touching stuff in stores when he was about 5. And we joke about this in the Black community. Don't When we get in the store, don't you touch nothing, don't you look at nothing, don't you? And we joke about that, And I'm sure you guys have like heard that. And like, why are y'all so? Because, and we know that if we knock something off the rack, we could be racially profiled just to knock something off the rack.
I literally was at Target this morning with my son, and I had the don't touch anything, don't look at anything, da, da. But my reasons for saying it are not the same as yours. If my son knocks something off the rack, it's gonna get a oh silly boy, or pick it out, da da da. Your son would probably give a dirty look or a dirty look to you, like, can't you take care of that? Those kind of, and then assume what you think he's trying to.
Yeah. Is he trying to steal something? Picking up a piece of candy. And we snap on our. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've seen Black mothers put it down because we're scared. We don't want someone following us out to the parking lot saying, your child stole something. We don't want people giving us dirty looks. These things happen. These things happen. We've been followed because my husband and I, when we drove really nice cars. We've been followed. We've been pulled over and asked, "Is this your car?"
Oh, geez. See, and I think that's I'm going to speak for myself, but I feel there's a lot of white women that would be like, no, that doesn't happen. And that's part of the, I'll say the Band-Aid that just got ripped off. Like, it does. Like, and the more people you talk about, posting things on social media and that this actually happened to me and true stories, because it's not something. I have a wonderful friend of mine. She's a white woman married to a Black man, adopted 4 Black children, and she will share like a real life story. And I feel like she's more of my news and my real than the media, But it's like, that's really happening. And I almost feel ignorant thinking I didn't know that was happening. How would I know that was happening? Like, that's where I feel like shame on me for not knowing that. And
well, I mean, the fact that you're having these types of conversations, it helps so much because, sometimes people don't know what they don't know, but sometimes it just and social media, yes, there's some bad sides, but it has been a huge help to us because when we're telling you this stuff happens, and then we don't really have any evidence, or they want to say, well, what did you do? And we can say, here's a video of what happened. But even still, I mean, Ahmaud Arbery was killed in February, and those men did not get arrested until what, 3 weeks ago. Yeah, and we, again, I said it. I said in my video, we also, we try not to say so much because this happens to us every day, right? And we too want to live our lives. We too want to, we want to enjoy our lives. We don't want to be inundated with so much, what we see, every day and this and that and the other. But, the same thing that happened with the whole Amy Cooper situation. That was dangerous. Like that, when and that was the whole situation where she had her dog unleashed and she called the cops on that man. She was fired and I think she lost her dog, but that man could have lost his life. like could have lost his life. That was a potential Emmett Till situation. I mean, it's that type of stuff where people will say, well, what did he do to her? If it wasn't caught on tape, if it wasn't, if it wasn't, and even still, I saw so much backlash, of people attacking the man that was being, cussed out and the whole 9 yards. And he just asked her, "Can you please put your dog on the leash?" And he could have lost his life for that. I just, and we again, it's like I can name so many things, but what helps is moving this conversation forward and saying, okay, let's open our hearts and our minds so that we can change and move forward. But I also want to implore to the Black men and women, to my people that are listening to this conversation, is do not villainize the people that are trying to help.
And I asked that question.
Don't villainize our allies. Now there is, we're not asking, white people to be our saviors. We're not asking for pity. But when we do see an ally, we need to recognize them as allies, and allow them to kind of talk it out and work it out along the way. And we can get to a point where we're so angry, and just so defensive, and we're, because we're just constantly, just doing like this all day, and when an ally comes along, we don't know who to trust. I'll be honest, we don't know who to trust. But when you do recognize an ally, don't villainize them. If they say something that's kind of off, correct them in love.
And I think most, good-hearted women would want that. I'd want that.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a conversation with another woman. She's a fellow podcaster, and she said, how can I help? And I said, first of all, thank you for asking me that. Thank you for asking, how can I help? Because sometimes, and I'm talking to my people, sometimes they don't know what to do. Sometimes y'all don't know what to say. So when somebody says, how can I help? We can give you guys information. We can tell you guys, listen, use your white privilege to help us. Use it.
Yeah, what you said, like when I mentioned, how could I not know? And you're like, yeah, I mean, come on, we've experienced this all the time. But there's a lot of white women that need a little grace because it's the first time they're experiencing, and they're opening their eyes going, no. And then they're putting themselves in your shoes, like with your children, having conversations. And it's emotional. I mean, it's we're like, ooh.
Yeah, it's very alarming and it's very overwhelming. I got a lot of those, I'm overwhelmed and I can't even imagine, right? Like I got a lot of those comments. Yes. I can't even imagine. And, I pray for George Floyd's family and all the other families that have been affected by, police brutality and, racism and things like that. I pray for them because we have been affected on so many different levels. But like, we have to like make sure that we are helping you guys get this, but also doing it in love, and especially us Christians, the people that are Jesus followers, the people that are working for the kingdom. We have to do this in love. So.
And I was going to say, at the same sentence, I've listened to different Black women in particular, and I feel like I need to say, like, it's not your responsibility to teach every white woman what to do and what not to do. It's not.
It's not. That is very true.
Step in and say, okay, Nikki taught us something here today. So now when we're out and we experience whatever it is, now we know what to do. So take action and don't quote wait for another Black person.
Even if you see something, where you're at the grocery store and someone, asks for 2 forms of ID, when you're I've been asked, well, can I see another thing of ID? And I go, well, you didn't ask the lady before me, and she just paid the same way.
Wow.
If you're standing right next to me, say something. Don't look away. Don't look away. Please don't look away. This is the types of things that we get. We're and this is these are forms of trauma. These are like small little forms of trauma. And so if you can step in and say, hey, you know what, that's not right. And this is what I love. This is what I loved seeing about the protests. How white people were coming in and saying, no, we stand with you. We stand with you. And even if you didn't protest, but you posted and said, you know what, I stand with you. I say Black Lives Matter. And, we know that, that is a form of what we call risking it all. We know that. We know. And we recognize you as allies because it's like, if you can stand and say Black Lives Matter, because I know you could lose business. I know you could lose followers. I know that, people will like you said, your father was like, okay, so, and you had to have additional conversations. We know that you guys are putting it out there when you say, I am an ally and I say that Black Lives Matter, but it has to happen. We need that.
That's a huge takeaway because
Yeah.
I will say there, if I would have saw somebody with the ID example, I would have been almost nervous, like if I'm going to get in your business and then you're going to be like, and there's that fear there. And I think that's almost our world got so, you stay in your lane, I stay in my lane. Don't look anywhere.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah,
no,
that's my business, right? Yeah.
look around and it is okay. And it's, again, it's this phrase was taught to me yesterday was, check your heart. You don't got to check a box. You don't have to check certain things you have to do because there's all these, how to be anti-racist white guidebooks out there right now and all these different things you're seeing. And so I think there's a lot of white women going, well, what am I supposed to do? And I kind of got to the point, don't check a box, check a heart. And that's what Shamika said. That was amazing.
Yeah. Check your heart. That's all you got to do. And stand up for what's right.
Yes. Human. Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, I again, thank you. This so last minute. Oh, you want to check in? This is my new friend.
Hi.
I'll be back.
Hi.
Okay. So thank you again so much. She just got up from nap hour, so she's like now.
Yeah.
Ladies, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to pop them in the comments. Can you post in the comments and also say like where people can find your podcast or learn more about you? And then are you welcome to answering questions if somebody has a direct one for you on the comment thread too? Okay.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'd love to answer questions. So you can find me at NikkiWillis.com. You can also follow me on social media at Nikki Willis, and I spell it NickiWillis. My podcast is called the Front Burner Podcast for Mompreneurs, and you can search for the Front Burner Podcast on all platforms, podcasting platforms. So yeah, that's how you can get in touch with me.
I'll be looking for it for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you again for your time and sharing openly and giving yourself and thank your families. I know this took away from them as well. So again, I appreciate it and I'm so thankful that I was able to meet you and I felt this was something that will help other individuals. And again, I just can't say thank you enough. So thank you.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Nora. Thank you, ladies.
Take care. See you corporate calling, ladies. Bye.
Well, ladies, I hope you enjoyed that session. If you liked it and you're watching, please give me a thumbs up. If you're listening on podcast, make sure you give me a review. I do need those 5 stars. Also, if you want to share it, please do. I am very proud of the conversation that I had with Nora Luke, and we all need allies and everyone to understand that Black Lives Matter. All right, have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye.